Hi guys, today we are reading chapter 5, which is called Redwater. So in yesterday's chapter, the interlude, the bard stopped telling the story of Podkin and was just talking to the rabbits, and he gets back into the story of Podkin one here. This is chapter 5, Redwater. Well, as you so beautifully described, the fleeing rabbits had just toppled a tree on the two Gorm riders. Very impressive too. After they had stood for a few moments, taking in what had happened, slowly realising they were still alive, they headed off into the woods again. The sun was well risen now, and they followed it eastwards, crunching through the snow as drips from melting icicles patted on their heads and ran down their necks, making them shiver even more. Before long, they stumbled down another bank and onto a narrow frozen river. Paz, who actually had been paying attention in those geography lessons, recognised it as the Red River. "This is the river that runs past Redwater Warren. Don't you remember it?" Podkin was too cold to remember anything, even if he'd been listening, about river names and types of trees. The terror of nearly being caught and the amazement at the power of Starclaw was gone. All he really wanted to do now was lay down in the soft white snow and fall asleep forever. But there was a dim little thought tugging away at the corner of his mind. Hadn't they used to come here at midsummer, every other year? There had been other little rabbits, hadn't there? And dandelion salad with carrot juice dressing. He was sure he remembered that. Was it different then? Not white everywhere? Paz gave him a worried look and grabbed him by the arm. They half ran, half fell all the way along the riverbank until they came to an arched wooden bridge, and from there they followed a snowy track cut into the forest floor. It led them to a pair of oak doors set into the hillside. Notched Ogham writing carved into the gateposts declared it to be Redwater. "Thank the goddess," said Paz, tears in her eyes, as she used the last of her strength to bang on the door. Podkin could do nothing but stand and shiver at her side, and little Pook was too cold even for that. After a few moments, the warren door creaked open, and a ginger-furred guard rabbit poked out his head. Now Paz and Podkin might have been half frozen, but they had been here several times before, and they remembered the famous hospitality of Redwater rabbits. Everyone for miles around knew how excitable and fun-loving they were. Any rabbit who stopped here was practically dragged inside and made to eat, sing and dance until they dropped, which is why they were shocked by this gloomy-faced, dreary soldier who peered at them now. His ears drooped, his eyes were shadowed and bloodshot. His leather armour was unlaced, unpolished, battered and torn. It barely fitted, hanging off him like old clothes on a scarecrow. If they hadn't been so frozen, they might have wondered why such a skinny, undersized rabbit was doing the job of a hardened warrior. "What do you want?" he said, not looking like he cared in the slightest. Paz could sense something was wrong, but was too desperate to listen to her gut. She cleared her throat and spoke. "We need help, please. The Gorm are after us," Pod added. "Soup," whispered Pook, poking a shivering nose out of Paz's tunic. "We're from Munbury Warren," said Paz. "We're Chief Lopkin's children." The guard's eyes widened at this, and he slammed the door on them. For an awful moment, Podkin and Paz thought they were being shut out, but then they heard the guards shouting for help through the doors. "Are they going to let us in?" Podkin asked through chattering teeth. "I think so," said Paz, "but something's up. We'd better hide the dagger." Podkin just looked at it dumbly, as if he was wondering how the thing had appeared in his hand. Quickly, Paz snatched it off him, wrapped it around with the cloth and shoved it inside her tunic, next to Pook, who gave a weak little squeak of protest. She had just hidden it away when the door creaked open again, this time revealing a familiar face, Lady Russet, the Redwater chieftain's wife. Even though Podkin's brain was practically an ice cube, he could see the terrible difference in the lady. Before, she had been a plump, bristling bundle of life with zinging fur, a bubbling giggle and eyes that sparkled like glimmers of summer sunlight. Now her skin hung off her face in folds. Lines of worry creased her brow. Her eyes were hollow, haunted, and red-rimmed, as if she'd been crying for a long, long time. When she spoke, her voice was light and happy, but it sounded forced, as if she was trying to hide some great sadness. "Why, if it isn't little Paz and Podkin! How you've grown since the summer, and is that tiny Pook nestled there? You poor things, you look frozen half to death. Is it true what my guard says about the Gorm in Munbury Warren? Come in at once. You'll be safe here, I promise." Podkin knew this wasn't right, that he should probably turn back and run into the icy woods, but he could hear the crackle of a fire somewhere down inside the warren, and he could smell racing parsnips and freshly baked bread. At that moment, getting warm and eating were more important to him than anything else, even his safety. That might sound silly to you, sitting by a toasty hearthside with a belly full of turnip soup, but try spending the night running for your life through a midwinter forest. You'd chew the legs off a rabid badger for a snack and somewhere cosy to sleep. In fact, warmth and food were more important than anything else right then. Although the little rabbits didn't know it, they were actually very close to freezing to death. If Podkin had laid down in that snowdrift like he'd wanted to, the sleep he drifted off in would have been his last. He would have woken up in the land beyond, and there was no coming back from that place. So that was how they came to enter Redwater Warren, even though it was a mistake that Podkin would regret for the rest of his life. And we will finish chapter 5 tomorrow. I wonder if you can make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen when they enter Redwater? Who is it that you think has taken over? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.